we actually have to like sit through these horrible games. And I mentioned last week, I they had some pretty positive efforts against like Ottawa, Colorado, right? But then they play New Jersey, and I have to go watch Shawshank Redemption, and it's the Brooks was here scene, and I just wanted to make a graphic that said Bruins were here. I thought it was kind of funny, Maybe we can work on that later on tonight with our intern Trent. But anyways, the Bruins have problems. I just went over all the numbers for you. Like they are not the road warriors. Like they go on the road and things get tight, and I blame leadership for that. Obviously, interim head coach Joe Sacco. This isn't his fault, by the way. Like to think that this guy could have turned it around. There was a little spark there. Is he a coach in the league? I think so. Head coach, Still wait to see on that one. But there's no doubt about the Bruins now need a new direction. Like they've lost their identity. Their identity was their goaltending. And I want to credit Ty Anderson because he always said that from 98.5thesportshub.com. Once they traded Allmark, they traded Allmark for we know the story. I don't have to go over it with you. Now, they would have had to pay some sort of option, a guarantees deal or something to that degree if they didn't trade him by a certain deadline. So that's why it happened. That's where I'm going with this. They still could have kept him. They still could have signed Swayman. They still could have done it. Instead, they decided to bring in Korpisalo and get two free agents that just aren't working. Like Zadorov last night, I don't need to see any more of him. I've had enough. He's too slow. He's too big. He mucks it up when it doesn't matter. He stinks. And he's here for a very, very long time unless you ship off a young piece with him or a draft pick. But he's a huge problem. When I tell you they give up goals, he was on the ice last night for 3 of them. So let me give you a couple more numbers here. And I do see you guys lined up on the phone line, 617-779-0985. The Bruins' road record by season. Let's just go back a couple of years. Okay, this is Montgomery. In 22-23, they went 31-8-2 on the road. That's pretty good. 2023, which was last year, they went 23-9 on the road. This year, 9-14-3. I mentioned this pace that they're on. The Bruins are on a pace to allow 260 goals. Since the start of the century, only 2 Bruins teams have allowed 250 or more goals. 05-06, they gave up 258 and 285 back in 06-07. If you go back to the 02-03 team that I referenced that went 31-8-2, they gave up 174 goals that year. This year's team will pass that total with 10 more goals allowed. So 2 more road games, they're going to go over the total from 22-23. Just think about the last 25 years of the Bruins. The Bruins have allowed at least 5 goals in a game more than 10 times in 9 different seasons. Just think about it. The Bruins have allowed at least 5 goals in a game more than 10 times in 9 different seasons. They've done it already this year. I can keep going over the historical numbers of how bad they are. I think you get it. They're giving up way too many goals. Whether it's their goaltending or defense, don't give me the injuries to Hampus Lindholm and Charlie McAvoy. This thing has been going on all year long. All year. I don't know how they fix it. I don't know who's next. I'll take suggestions, but right now, it's very bad. We'll go to you at 617-779-0985. Not sure if you have anything else to add on that, Skaz, but why don't I give you those numbers? They're really, really bad. And, I'm going to relate all these to the Celtics, too, who struggle at home. We'll do that coming up on the other side here. Anything else to add on the Bruins? Because right now, we can talk Senior Bowl, right? Do you want to talk about the Red Sox, search for something else? I think it's worth really honing in on what is wrong with the Bruins and even the Celtics for that matter.
You're not pumped Chara's back, Joe?
In a way, I only liked it because last night we were spitballing it. Has anyone come up with a list yet of maybe potential candidates I'm talking about Montgomery, Burns, Smithers. In this case, this would be, Cam Neely is Smithers. Could Chara be the next Smithers? Like, is that where they're going with this? Do you think that's what's next?
I have no idea what's next, Joe, and I think that's kind of part of the frustration is the Bruins are stuck in, what I believe to be one of the worst spots in sports where you're not at the top of the league ready to compete, winning a title, but you're also not at the bottom of the league where you're going to get, a top 5 pick where you could get a Celebrini or a Bedard or someone that could, kickstart your franchise back in the right direction. They're kind of right in the middle right now. They're hanging around that playoff bubble, and yeah, they might sneak in, but I don't believe this is a cup contender. Not at all. Not when you lose like that to Buffalo on the road. So they're kind of right in that mediocre, 2010s Atlanta Hawks spot, the worst place in sports. So they need to pick a direction, and I think right now that direction is sell, to rebuild, blow it up, and the roster, the front office, all of it. Like they're not in a good place right now, and you see it on the ice. I mean, we listened to RJ and Bob last night. Like, Bob was distraught at times last night.
I don't think I've ever heard him like that.
Like, disgusted with the team's effort, their play, Paterka, or, the guy walking down the middle of the ice twice. And how can you not just be apoplectic about this team?
2 hat tricks.
Yeah, two, Joe. Not 1, 2.
2. They weren't enough hats of the amount of people that went to the game last night to even do the second hat trick.
Sabres might have scored more goals than hats that were thrown on the ice.
Like think about this. Hat trick happened. The minimum amount of people that were there, because there wasn't many, they threw their hat for the first hat trick. When it was the second hat trick, they had nothing. What are they going to throw? And we made a joke about this last night, but the last time that Buffalo has done that, it was 2008 against the Atlanta Thrashers. That's when Fred was working at Blimpies. Fred Dutcher was working at Blimpies probably back then. I think. I don't know. I just wanted to throw in a Blimpies reference. It's bad, everybody. I don't know what's next. So we crushed the Patriots, right, for being bad and bring up numbers. Like, I'm on the Bruins, this is Don Sweeney. Scats, the 10 years of Don Sweeney, was it a success or a failure? Because I can look at it and tell you, Stanley Cup's going there is good. Being the best team of all time, good. Right? It all looks good. Did you win?
Best regular season team of all time.
Sorry. Did they win a championship? No. Is that now? Was it unsuccessful because they didn't win a championship?
Yeah, the goal is to win championships, not be very good in the regular season and get your gate money for home playoff games. That might be the goal of ownership. That is not the goal of what fans are looking for, what the players are looking for.
Failure. I put a fail. F. And your first year as the GM, you have 3 first-round picks. I know that was 10 years ago. I know it was. But now look. It finally caught up to you. All the first-round picks you would trade away at the deadline. And I will admit this. 2 years ago, management did everything it could for this team to win, and it was the players that let them down. I fully agree with that. Now where they're at, signing Lindholm, Zadorov, maybe the Allmark move was franchise-altering because they certainly have no more identity. 617-779-0985. Patrick's in Weymouth. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, what's going on? Appreciate the show and wanted to just call in about the Bruins fraternity. Yeah. They seem to never break away from that, so I don't even want to hold my breath. But you said anyone started brainstorming names. Go look up David Carl from University of Denver. Dream scenario.
So
back up the Bruins truck and bring him over to Boston.
We did this last night. They got the last guy that did that. Remember Montgomery was there and then went to Dallas and then got fired.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the name. Should we eliminate that name going forward?
Look, I get it. He's the hottest name in hockey right now. He's done an incredible job at Denver, incredible job with the men's junior team. But he's gonna get a huge contract. Like when he leaves Denver for the NHL, he's probably going to be one of the highest paid coaches in the entire league because of his pedigree, because of what he's done. He deserves it, and I just don't see the Bruins being the team that's going to pony up for basically an unknown at the NHL level.
I agree. I Maybe we should start working on some names. Joe's on the South Shore. Hey, Joe.
Hey, what's going on? I think when I really lost kind of faith in this team, well, not really lost faith, but I kind of tuned out, was you went into St. Louis, right? And you won Game 6 after you lost Game 5 where Nola Chari took that leg check, that questionable call, no call. How do you come home and lose Game 7? Just, you know what I'm saying? We're going to look back and be like, that's one they had to have. And could it almost excuse the way they are now, if that makes sense, if you win that cup?
So I'll say this, right? Oh, my God. Yeah, it would absolutely. This is what I mean about Don Sweeney, Joe. Like, it's a fail because he didn't win a championship. It's a fail. But if he does win, in the end, you would say Don Sweeney's been good here, and I wouldn't be talking about firing him. I'd be talking about he's the guy I want to rebuild with.
Can I retort that really quick?
Go ahead. That's what we do here.
2 seconds ago, you said the players let him down. You know what I'm saying?
No, but you mentioned 18. I mentioned 22 that they let him down. Do you see what I'm saying? You brought up the St. Louis game. You brought up St. Louis. That's what I meant by that. But in 22, they went all in. That was not management's fault. That was the players' fault.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're right there. You know what I'm saying? That's Game 7 in the Garden. You know,
no, I know, but it was 2018, and Sweeney built it back up to be the best regular season of all time, and the players blew it.
Oh, I know.
But we can't compare 22 and 18. You get what I'm saying? Like 18, they blew it, they lost, and they gave up another goal on a line change last night, and I was triggered by 2018, just like you are.
Marchand's line change. That was nice.
Yeah. Yes. Just to be clear, 2018, that was their shot. They were the favorites. They were better. They got out-muscled by St. Louis. St. Louis was not a better team. They just completely outplayed them. They played what you would think is Boston Bruins hockey. Oh, now we're going back to that, Skaz. Oh, this is really triggering. This is triggering right now. I'm triggered right now. Because 2 years ago, they were loaded. And at the deadline, they gave up first-round picks for, like, Bertuzzi, right? They made these moves to really double down. And they lost. They should have thought about blowing it up then. They probably should have thought about it. But you know what they did? They pieced some things together. Like last year, they really leaned into their goaltending. It was their identity. But you know what also was their identity? They still couldn't score. They still didn't have secondary scoring, and they still were weak. So what happened this year? Go sign the best center available in Lindholm. Go get the toughest defenseman that's out there. And they did that. And it's a fail. Like, this guy did everything he could. Literally, I look at Sweeney as he did everything he could. Man, did he blow that draft in 2015. But everything else, whew. But I think drafting in hockey really does mean something. And right? The draft means a lot. No, I think in hockey, this thing's like 10. This thing could take 10 years. This thing could take 8, 10 years. You know, in football, they make them 5 years, right? Or 4 years on the rookie deal or whatever it is. Baseball might take some guys a really long time. Basketball, it's like you gotta be ready right away to get that second deal. And then get your max. Hockey, these things, if you have a bad draft in 2015, I think they're lucky it finally caught them 10 years later. Jim's in Hingham. Hey, Jim.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Good. I got some stats for you. 5 drafts, 111 NHL games out of 5 drafts. That was sourced by an ex-NHL player who stays local and will stay nameless. That's insane.
The draft. Listen, I think they are here because of their draft. This is what I'm saying. I think Sweeney really did everything he could. The trades, he signed all the right guys. The Allmark trade looked good on paper, right? Who would have thought it would have really just ruined their identity?
Yep.
So, any other stats for me?
No, I think that's a pretty good one. 5 drafts, 111 NHL games played out of those drafts.
Woof. Should add that to the article. You know what we should do is like get dog woofs. Like when, like, you know, if it's a little chirper, it's a little arf, arf, right? But if it's like a real bad one, you get like the big woof. Get the big dog woof. Maybe we could have like dog level. You know how Maz has tears? We could have a woof tears.
Joe, who's better at drafting, Elliot Wolf or Don Sweeney?
Well, let's do some Joe math real quick. 111 games out of 5 drafts, right? So they just...
I would say not good.
I would say... I mean, Elliot Wolf had 1 draft, right? Drake May played... Take Drake May out of it. Who else played? I mean, their linemen, no. The wide receivers, no.
Oh, those guys were awesome this year, Joe. Come on.
Am I missing a rookie here? Oh, man. Skaz, that's a... So we're going 5 years versus 1 year right now.
Yeah, take the last 5 years of the Patriots. Who's better at drafting?
Oh, man.
I mean, I think it's slight edge Patriots, but that's not a conversation I want to be in.
I didn't think we'd be making this comparison right now. All right. We're going to get into the Celtics. They're at home tonight. We'll continue to take your Bruins calls. Listen, I've worked here for 13 years. 13 years. This is the only place I have ever worked in my life where there are passionate Bruins fans. I always talk about this. When the Bruins lose, we're loaded with phone calls on the way home with people pissed. It's great. It's an amazing radio. And we're here for every Celtics game. When they win and we barely get any calls. Sometimes when they lose, we barely get any calls. But where are the Bruins fans right now? Like, this is historically one of the worst defenses we've ever seen. The goalie just got one of the biggest contracts. And they did in a way, it's hard for me to really kill Sweeney over the moves he's made because you thought that they worked. The draft, you can absolutely blame him. It's probably why they're here right now, because of their draft. But the way that guy is somehow circumvented the salary cap, it's amazing they had a run like this. If you like that clip, check out more videos from my show, The Joe Murray Show, here. For more Bruins analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.